Welcome in. It's the PennLive Wrestling Podcast. Dustin Hawkinsmith here, Dave Heckard as well, taking you through the Mid-Penn and District 3 wrestling as we move into the middle of January. And we're dealing with a little bit of craziness here, Dave. And we were talking about it off air just a little bit, just the air of chaos. And I've seen a lot of different programs, a lot of different coaches dealing with a lot of absences and a lack of rhythm and having to have matches called off and postponed, and the scheduling chaos that falls on to the athletic directors. And this is where we're at right now. We're going to look back on what happened over the course of the past week, but also look ahead to this week with all that in mind to suggest that some of the things that we preview and discuss, all bets are kind of off whether we actually see that happening. And Dave, I think just the difficulty of the situation and trying to manage your way around this. This is the defining tone, I think, to the dual season so far, is that you just don't know when. And I don't even think it's a matter of if. You don't know when the rug's going to get pulled out from under you.
Yeah, it's been a wild year. You were just talking. We were sitting here talking, and I think you said the Mid-Penn Commonwealth has wrestled a total of 3 dual meets in the division so far. Central Dauphin.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Central Dauphin, Mifflin County, and Central Dauphin, Carmel Valley. Central Dauphin's wrestling 2 of the both matches. State College was supposed to wrestle Carmel Valley. That was postponed. I think Chambersburg shut down and was postponed against Cedar Cliff last Thursday. Chambersburg hasn't wrestled since Trojan Wars. You think about that and you put in that perspective. And now, I don't know, you follow the news, Central Dauphin was shut down today. Talking to Jeff, this has been almost 20 practices this year that they've been shut down because of COVID. Like 20, that's 3 weeks of practices. That's a lot of time. That's approximately, say, roughly 40 hours of training that I don't know. It's a lot, you're missing, so,
and some teams, the state of these teams, like this version of this Central Dauphin team with the types of new faces and the inexperienced guys and the guys who maybe sat out last year that Jeff has to lean on, this version of Central Dauphin is especially ill-equipped to deal with that amount of loss of training time. Cumberland Valley, they're young and trying to bring these pieces together. And it's been a long time, really, since the start of the preseason, that Billy Chamberlain has had all his guys in the same practice room at the same time. And you think about, yes, it's an individual sport, but I just focus on the tone that's set in some of these cases, especially young teams or unproven or inexperienced teams having to try to deal with all this stuff and teammates in and out, not knowing who's going to show up one day versus the next. It's got to wear on coaches and wrestlers alike.
I think so. I think, wrestlers at every level, elementary, junior high, high school need more training. Everybody's so caught up into the events and that's great, the matches and all that. But, wrestling is an art form in some way. And I feel like you see it a lot at the elementary level, like, a lot of it is adult driven competitions where, I feel like those kids should be in the wrestling room, a lot more than they should be competing, and learning the sport. And that's really at every level. And, what happens because of that? Well, you don't hit your peak performance. But, also you run that risk of safety even, where you're not in shape, you're not wrestling, and, you learn how to fall properly. You learn how to move correctly in wrestling and to protect yourself. And when you're not practicing and you're not doing that, that can be the result of that. So, and right now, you and I are talking, Cumberland Valley, we're talking Central Dauphin, Chambersburg a little bit, but really this is universal. This is everybody right now that's going through this. And, it's really tough right now for a lot of teams to find a rhythm. And, I think that what you're going to see here is hopefully some of these teams that have had people out and have been postponing and can kind of, settle in here and get a feel for the season and come back here the second half here and make some noise and get involved. But, and the teams that have been lucky so far, maybe that things haven't happened. Well, I mean, I feel like I'd be holding my breath if I was a coach right now.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing has happened yet, like when's this coming for us? It's just a whole year of awkward circumstances. I mean, I don't mean to shift gears a little bit here, but like, I'm sitting home yesterday and, watching the NFL games, which was an awesome week 18, by the way. I'm a big 49er fan. So, gold rush, baby. And anyway, so anyway, we're watching the games and stuff, and like, the teams and who's out and at that level of that sport, I mean, here we are, you're talking how many billions of dollars are dumped in the NFL, and there's players missing from those teams. And I talked to Jeff, and his last text to me was, I just want this to be over, and I think that's the way we're all feeling right now, is we all just want this to be over and get back to some normalcy here. But as does time, we move forward, and we do have some interesting matches this week, and some matches to go over from last week either way. But again, I feel like at the end of our last podcast, we were left in the conundrum of where do we go from here, and here we are beginning this one. It's the same song and dance.
Yeah, it's you try to look beyond it, but the influence is there, from postponements and cancellations to teams going in less than 100%, and obviously that's a part of the sport, and you see that every year, but not at this level. And I would definitely argue that this season so far has been more chaotic than last season, even. Wrestling with the masks and stuff on. I don't think you saw the same scale of absences last year as you did this year. But
I'm sorry, but it's interesting to say here too, like, when it comes to the individual tournament, who's going to be the big name that can't wrestle
right
across the state? Because that's going to happen, sectional weekend, and then the buzz goes around, and then everybody hears it, and so and so is out because they didn't, they tested positive, or they came in close, whatever it may be. Who's going to be that big name?
Yeah. And, the hope, as I think I've shared before, is that, these complications and these issues and the spread and the close contacts much better in the first and second week of January than the third, fourth week of February and into March. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The matches that did happen, we'll focus on a few of them, and a lot of them are the ones that we focused on last week and we previewed. We'll shift gears in the second half of the show and look at the matches we do expect to be wrestled this week, including your breakdown, always valuable breakdown of Red Land and Carlisle down at Red Land, where, they sprung, I wouldn't call it an upset, but really good win last week over Northern. Let's actually just start with that one and just look at 45-26, the outcome there. I don't think we look at this and say that there were severe limitations on either side. You're just looking at this and saying, you know what, Redland out wrestled Northern. You and I had talked and had a lot of high hopes for Northern. Didn't show up in this match, but also I think Redland is a little bit more balanced and deeper and just a little better than I think we probably gave them credit for to start the year.
Yeah, and I saw them early on, like I told you, at the Mechanicsburg match, and I definitely thought, the team that I saw there with Redland, and then the team that I saw at Northern, in Northern at the Cumber Valley Kickoff Classic, man, I just had a really good buzz about Northern at the Kickoff Classic. I felt like they had some good place winners there, and I know it's different tournament. I get all that, but the deal was I saw some good performances there out of their guys, and like I said, in comparison from what I saw, and again, not doing the lineup, not looking at individual matchups, I just had a better, feeling in my gut about Northern in that match than I did Redland. And I mean, think preseason when we did the picks, I mean, I think it was, Carlisle 1, like Northern 2. Northern had battled Carlisle the year before, had the guys back, and kudos to Redland, man, and their staff, and they got a good thing going on there. I think, Brian Baglio being, an alumni, Brian Willoughby, helps him out, another assistant coach, old Mean Dean, helps him out. And, those guys are good guys. And, like I said, we got the chance last year to team up with them a good bit and do some training. And that's good to see their success. But I mean, what's even more exciting about, that win for Redland against Northern is what that sets up this week with the Red Land Carlisle match, which I'm going to tell you what, Carlisle, and I'm sure Joe knows, they better lace them up and come ready to go, because it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
Interesting matchup. Good, a couple teams that neither of them have, big glaring holes in their lineup, and we've seen this year that there's not a lot of teams that can really say that, especially under all the circumstances. I got a chance to talk to Brian that night after they beat Northern, just talking about his approach with a young team, and really an emphasis after the kickoff classic of trying to build confidence of young guys and taking some different measures, focusing on different things in the room. He said at least one of his freshman starters who had been beaten up a little bit wrestled in the JV tournament down at Trojan Wars, and just interesting tactics, I think, to get these young guys feeling good about themselves. And I thought that was a contributing factor in this match, as these young guys kind of not being shaken or losing confidence, even though they took some losses early.
I mean, that's super important, and I'm glad that he said that. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that I did. If I had a kid that was, maybe he was a varsity starter, sometimes not by choice. You know what I'm saying? Or by choice. You didn't have anybody else. But there's no way that guy's ready to go to a Trojan Wars tournament and compete, or a big tournament. So you'd send them to a JV tournament to get that mat time. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The mat time, the training, and that mental game is important. So now, instead of taking that freshman to Trojan Wars and going 0-2 and feeling even worse about himself, now he takes him to the JV tournament. He gets a couple of wins, right? He gets a chance to work on some things, and he has a lot more confidence and is ready to hit the drawing board, coming back after Christmas break. And great approach there. And that's important when you're talking team wrestling. And confidence oozes in comes out in individuals, but that catches a hold of the team aspect. Like, if there's different individuals that are lacking confidence, and then that becomes a team thing, that can hurt. Whereas on the other hand, winning breeds winning, confidence breeds confidence. So good for them to get rolling here. And like I said, I'm excited for this Carlisle match to see how that turns out.
So you got three teams in the Keystone sitting at 2-0 going into the week. Lower Dauphin is another one of them. Carlisle wrestles them on Thursday. I know Lower Dauphin struggled with the partial lineup this past weekend as well. So we'll see what kind of condition that David Wisner's team is in for that one. But certainly would expect Carlisle to take care of business in that one. And so you look at, Carlisle-Red Land as being a really important duel when it comes to the Mid-Penn Keystone. We'll look at that one a little bit more here coming up. The couple matches that we really spotlighted last week, I don't think there was much surprise along the way here, but West Perry takes on Cumberland Valley, beats them 33-23. Billy doesn't have all his guys there yet, but West Perry, just an impressive team effort from them. The other one, Mifflin County, beating Central Dauphin 42-23. I was texting with you a little bit during that match, and CD was up 23-21 with four bouts to go, but it was the exact four bouts that Kirby Martin wanted. The wrong four bouts, looking at 72, 89, 215, and 285. They go pin, and decision there and take that duel, but not a big surprise either way. What stood out, first of all, West Perry, Cumberland Valley, you're there for that one. What caught your attention in that match?
For me, it was West Perry's, I don't want to say depth, but they're putting some sort of body of work out at every weight. I thought their kids looked good. They look strong. Every one of their guys, I mean, here's what dual meets come down to. You ready? Pins. You know what I'm saying? It pins. And you can plus minus that category in every dual meet. I'm going to tell you, most of the time, the team that gets the most pins, is going to win that dual meet, regardless of the number of bouts won. And when you have a team like West Perry that sends, guys out that do their job, and don't give up bonus at different weights, then you're going to win dual meets. To start out, we had a real good individual bout at 72, which kind of surprised me here, because I think West Perry, they have two 60-pounders, and they have the Hockenberry folk, and then they had the Sailor kid at 160. I think they double weighed them at 60. And I kind of think they messed up a little by putting Hockenberry up on Brashino. So Cumberland Valley got a little gift there, and I was, and this is a tough decision here, younger coaches, whatever. and Roger Barrick taught me this, if you get into a situation where you start at a weight and you're going to bump a guy up, or you have a better, one guy's significantly better than the other, who do you start off with? Roger Barrick always told me, save the bullet in your gun. Like, you know what I mean? Save that good guy to the end. So when I saw where it started, and if you look at the way it turned out, I mean, between 60 and 72, Cumberland Valley won both of those. And I think that if West Perry had to do over again, they probably would have fed Brashino at 72 and probably kept, Hockenberry to the end to beat Strauss, which I think that would have happened. Either way, it did work out for him, right? Like, so they kept Anthony to a regular decision, but that was a great little, individual bout within the dual meet to start off the night. Those two guys. At 89, the Bowden kid, went out and battled jumper 10-3, like didn't give up that last point for that major. And did he stall a little bit? Sure. Did he? But guess what? He didn't give up the major. You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's a beautiful part about team wrestling. Like, did he do a lot of scoring? Was he attacking? Maybe not as much as the Cumberland Valley fans would have liked, right? But at the end of the day, the guy did his job. He gave up regular decision, and when he did that, the coaches on the West Perry bench got up and started clapping like that kid won the match. So I mean, that's the cool part, like I always say about team wrestling. But then you move up through, and like we said, and I call this out 285. Right, the heavyweight match is what that match was going to come down to, and here we are. We go into 285, and the bout's tied 6-6. Cumberland Valley wins the first two. Morrison pins. Here we go. Well, it's 1-1 in the third period. The Cumberland Valley kid's on bottom. He stands up. He kind of turns into the kid. The kid from West Perry puts him on his back and pins him. And at that point, I said to the people around me, I said, it's over. It's over. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, that's, a decision, it's not over, but a pin, over. And really West Perry rolled at that point. I was impressed with, obviously Devin Jackson just doing what he does. Just incredible. Every time I watch him, it's just like, man, that's incredible. The guy from Cumberland Valley, and I really like this kid. If I had to choose guys in a foxhole with me, man, I mean, this would be probably guy number one for Cumberland Valley, and that's the Mitchell kid, the freshman. I mean, he goes out at 120 pounds, first time down to 120. He wrestles a tough Jackson Rush. Rush goes out and takes him down. But the Mitchell kid the whole match is battles and battles and battles, and comes back and then beats Rush, in a close bout, individual bout there. He beats him 6-4. And I love everything that kid oozes. I mean, he works hard. He came back in a tough match and got the win. And, that was definitely one of, I know Coach Chamberlain's bright spots was Jake Mitchell at 120. But then you go like, okay, then you're looking at the score. Well, now it's Cumberland Valley's up 16-15. Well, now you go like 26, 32, 38. You got the younger Morrison who picks up a major. The Pahalski kid picks up a win, and Nolan Ziegler gets a pin. So you run into three hammers. Well, now, they have it pretty much locked up at this point. And really the only other win or two wins was at 52 with Belg, and then it was wrapped up after that, and then Mitchell Strauss at 160. But I was also impressed with the Seidel kid for a freshman. I mean, he's a nice body of work, and again, all around, man, like, congrats to West Perry. The old Mustang gang was loud, cheering him on at the gym. And but listen, here's the deal. I want to set the record straight here, okay? And I got home from the match, and a buddy of mine who was like watching the match through like the live stream on Facebook, and I don't know who was announcing, but he said the announcer kind of kept referencing like last year, as in like there was almost an aura of like when Cumberland Valley and West Perry were supposed to wrestle, and Cumberland Valley like backed out of the match in like a way of like ducking West Perry. Well, I'm just going to set the record straight and not happening. I mean, that's silly. That's almost humorous to me. I mean, we ran into like, and I don't even remember the scheduling conflict, but we ran into a conflict last year where with COVID, we got squeezed on our schedule and we had to drop the West Perry match, and even, a little bit of the aura up there, like Cumberland Valley, like they would have got us last year. Well,
Listen,
I don't
Dave.
know. I can guess who won that match, but I mean, here's what I'm going to say. You can call me a lot of things as a coach. You can call me a crazy chicken dancer. You can call me whatever you want, but I will never be accused of running from opponents in wrestling, right? So don't throw that my way, man. Don't throw me the Cumberland Valley ducked West Perry ordeal. And it was like a thing up there, you know, a couple of the fans, oh, last year. Well, okay. But either way, just setting the record straight there. You know, so I'm not talking about West Perry for the next 10 minutes. Like West Perry, after I say West Perry right now, I'm not talking about West Perry.
That's it.
Done.
Listen.
They're in a 10 minute timeout.
You know who chicken dances, Dave? Chickens do. You know what chickens do? They run away. All right. I'm just saying that the transitive property it checks out in this situation. But
oh man, listen, if I could see Zach Kell's face right now, that guy would be in tears. He would love that comment. I love it. I love it.
Good win. It was a year in the making, this win over Cumberland Valley. It was going to happen last year. It happened this year instead. Now, good win for those guys. And I think, you know, you mentioned that at 172. I really think that West Perry was set on let's battle. You know, and I think as much as anything else, the Hockenberry Folk decision was probably with that in mind. Like strategically, mathematically, it might not be the prudent move, but they wanted to battle Cumberland Valley and set that tone early. And you know, that match at 285, you know, not only just mathematically they lead 12-6 after that, but just in terms of momentum and firing off that first shot. That was the first shot in this match. It was fired by West Perry. And, you know, I don't think Cumberland Valley had a great deal of margin in the first place in this one. And I think, you know, if you would have told Claudio Valeri they were giving up 6 at 285, he would have said the exact same thing. The match would have been over in his mind.
Yeah. Too. Yeah. And kudos to the Carver kid, you know, and I was at that match. I mean, he almost was on his back at one point and fought off, you know, to turn around and pin. I love the fight. That's excellent.
To try to predict what's going to happen at 285 can be a fruitless venture, right? Like the swings and momentum there, and we've seen it in other matches too. Just the swings and momentum at 285. West Perry gets that one, and honestly, I mean,
go ahead, buddy.
West Perry, like you can't. It's hard to make the case that West Perry wasn't the better team. Like
no doubt.
Absolutely. Like if Bevilacqua wins that match by decision, that's a 9-point swing, and it was a 10-point match, and I know all that. But sure. West Perry deserved to win this thing, and
absolutely they did. And the heavyweights, like they're all friends with each other. And it's funny, like they all like give each other hugs after they're wrestling. They're like the most two tired wrestlers after they're mad. You know, they give each other hugs regardless of what happens, and they walk off. You know, it was cool. So
yeah, we survived. We're still breathing.
We're still upright. We're still stealing air. That's right.
Anything jump out to you about the CD-Mifflin County match? Obviously, we were looking at, you know, CD's big guns there, and it looked like you know they were kind of feeding. I don't know if they had a choice at 106, but it looked like they were committed to feeding Repos, feeding Garvik, and really setting up that run from 72 to 285, which strategically the right move there. You know, 32 was one of those toss-up matches, Allmiller and Michael Beers. That one's 11-8. Beers beat Allmiller the week before. So yeah, you know, I think, you know, Hunter Johnson getting a major and not just a decision at 120 was a good result for them there. But I think, you know, Mifflin County just had too much.
Yeah, and like we kind of said that, you know, in our preview up top, you know, and again comes back to those falls that we talked about. And really, like you said, it was like 23-21 after. Like it was a good dual meet for a while there. You know what I mean? And then, you know, like we said, and it looks like, I mean, Mifflin County, based off of who they fed, they got the flip. They had to have and fed Garvik even at 60, and then they went up and you know, 70, 72, 89, 215 and heavy. They just put their foot down, and a nice win by them. Because, you know, look, here's the deal: Mifflin County, like the traveling, you know, here they go. They travel down, you know, to Central Dauphin, and, you know, you get on the bus, you make that hour-long trip, hour and 10, 15-minute long trip. You get off the bus, you go into a tough Central Dauphin, and a lot of times things don't go as planned. You know, for Mifflin County to put it together, a team that really, were they the team that was going to be picked to win the division? No, but they're a serious contender right now, and here we are, and they come and they wrestle, and like I said, their kids are tough, and they're physical, and they wrestle hard, and I mean, wrestling's important to them up there. So kudos to them, man. Like I said, just take advantage of everything up top, and getting those bonus points up top was big. I mean, 3 pins in a row. So
yeah. And match over at this point, but
yeah.
I love, there are some distinctively Mifflin County names in this, and I'll look at 106 pounds. Stiers Odin, that is a Mifflin County name through and through.
Yeah.
Anson Wagner is a Mifflin County name.
It is.
I like that there's a certain breed of toughness. There's a certain breed of toughness in that West Perry team. There's a certain breed of toughness in that Mifflin County team that's uniquely their own.
Here's the deal, right? Like, I even go to like the state with this whole theory of mine, and that's like, wrestling's a blue collar sport, and where you grow up, how you grow up is part of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying if you don't grow up in a blue collar area, you can't be a good wrestler. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like, there's fat cats and there's alley cats. You know what I mean? Like, I want a team of alley cats, a team that, like, they're scratching and clawing for every scrap of food they get. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're not the team that drives in BMWs and brand new wrestling shoes every year. You know what I mean? They're the alley cats, and I've had this conversation with my teams at Cumber Valley. So, but I don't want fat cats, guys that come walking in with $1,000 phones. You know what I'm saying? Guys that come walking and driving in their BMW that their mom lent them to go to school. Like, sometimes in some sense, the blue collar guys, the guys that are fighting for the things that others aren't fighting for, are the guys that are going to do the same in wrestling matches. And, I think, Mifflin County, man, is a blue collar area. I think, that Pittsburgh, that area, like, they're blue collar kids. West Perry, like, blue collar, man, like, hard working, like good wrestlers. And again, I'm not saying that just because your social status is one thing, you can't be successful wrestling. I'm not saying that. I just feel like, for me, like, I want a team of alley cats, some guys that are scratching and clawing for everything they get, and not only in wrestling but in life. Sometimes they make better wrestlers, they make tougher kids, and I feel like you have a little bit of that with Mifflin County. You have a little bit of that with West Perry, and even some of those teams out the Pittsburgh area, man. And either way, though, I expect Mifflin County, man, to be a tough out for this division. And interestingly enough, not a team we expected to be at the top at the beginning of the year here, but very well could be.
This year in the Commonwealth, kind of ripe for the picking. That if you run pretty solid from 1 through 13, which is what Mifflin County is. I mean, I don't think you really look at that outside of Nick Allison maybe, and Kyler Everly looks like he might be turning a corner and could be a state medal contender. You're not looking at state champs here. From 1 to 13, you're looking at just solid guys the whole way through, and some guys, especially, and it's the same strength that made Central Dauphin so tough to match up with last year. When you're running, 72 through 285, and you're strong in 4 spots in a row, it's going to be, and even just like 89, 215, 285, most teams, from my observation, if you've got one solid kid in those 3 weight classes, you're right around on par. But they've got 3 good kids in those weight classes, and that's a real ace up your sleeve.
And here's the deal with upper weights. Listen, I'm not busting upper weights. I was an upper weight myself. But upper weights get bonus points. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have good upper weights, not only are they winning matches like lower weights, but or guys into the middle, but a lot of times they're pinning people. And that's what you have here, where you have just such a matchup where, I mean, these dudes from Mifflin County, I mean, Everly at 72, Shoemaker at 89, Wagner, Puppo, these dudes are big, strong, physical kids that have had a lot of mat time. And if you're not experienced, I mean, they're going to pin you. They're going to go after the pin. So, but that's the way with most teams. If you have those upper weights, you're scoring bonus.
And as we sit here today, Monday evening, talking about wrestling, what's supposed to happen is this week Mifflin County is supposed to go to State College, and that's another piece of information that we can use there, because I'm really anxious to see which of these two District 6 Mid-Penn Commonwealth teams is better, and whichever District 6 Commonwealth team is better will be my pick at the end of the week to win this division. Um,
Yeah.
I think both those teams are pretty close. I think Mifflin County probably has a little bit more balance than Ryan Cummins does up at State College, but State
I would
College
agree.
with the Cunningham kids and with the Pavlechko kid who looks miles better than he was.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some. State College has more hammers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you said it perfectly. I think State College has more hammers. I think Mifflin County has better balance. So I haven't looked at that match as far as matchups and how that goes, and that means a lot. To figure out like a dual meet result there. But I would bank on Mifflin County's balance. Again, who knows with this year, but that's what I would lean with. But yeah, that's an interesting matchup if it happens.
A couple other notes before we shift into forward looking. One is I just want to give a tip of the cap to Jager Gray from Trinity again. Made a note of it here. He beat Garrett Garcia from Southern Columbia in the Trojan Wars finals. He beats Kevin Oliveria from Manheim Township, who was ranked number 5 on Saturday. Not a great day for Trinity as a team in the Manheim Township duels, but for Jager Gray, I mean, I think just having back-to-back top 5 wins is a good sign for where he's going, and I think a confidence builder that he is turning that corner now, and I think has emerged. He was a guy to watch anyway, but I think those 2 wins, without looking, have to be the 2 biggest wins of his career, and kind of a long time coming, and good momentum for him here.
Yeah, I mean, the guy beat the double A number 3 and the triple A number 5 at his weight. That's impressive, man. I shot him a text. I've known Jag for a long time, his family and whatnot. So anyway, I shot him a text and just congratulated him. And I asked him a simple question, like, your improvement from last year to this year, what do you attribute that to? Okay. And his comment to me was after he lost at districts last year, he decided like he wasn't going to stop wrestling. So, I mean, really, that guy just turned it into a full round year thing for him and did nothing but train. And for the younger guys listening, like, the other wrestlers, younger, like, here's the deal. You know what he decided? It's important to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's time to dedicate something, to something that's important to him. He put away his distractions. He made a commitment to being a better wrestler, and the results are showing. And I talked to Joe, to Coach Peretta, and he said his biggest thing was like he's down to weight. Last year he was messing around up at 89, and this year, like, he's in the best shape he's been in. He is down to the weight he belongs at. And Coach Peretta said just mentally, he believes in himself. Last year, you walk on the mat, you doubt yourself a little bit, and you're out there wrestling, trying to hold on, trying to see what happens. He said this year he believes that when he steps on the mat, like he's going to win. And that comes with training. That comes with confidence. And like I said, that's I love hearing that stuff. And I told Jagger, I said, here's the deal. We're going to talk a little bit about you here, but I want you to make sure you don't let this go to your head. Like Nick Saban says, it's rat poison. You know what I mean? So, stay humble, stay hungry, stay after it. And, he gave me the old thumbs up, and, so cool for him. And again, man, I really want to see him just keep improving and bring home a state medal for Trinity in District 3.
I mean, in terms of talent and ability, he's got it, and all these other pieces are starting to come together. And now we do have an extra burden we're putting on him. Our dozens and dozens of listeners are going to have their eyes on him, and that's going to be a lot of pressure. We apologize in advance for
That's right. That's right. Our dozens and dozens of listeners. That's it.
Dozens,
that's it.
literally
Hey, you
dozens
got to
of
start somewhere,
listeners.
Dustin, right? Like, you got to start somewhere. And if
Yes.
it's a dozen, if it's 2 dozen, we'll take those 24 and run, right?
Yep.
Right.
We're in on the ground floor here. We'll keep growing. One other thing I wanted to know, just because Bishop McDevitt, pretty firmly in my, you're looking at some combination of McDevitt, West Perry, Boiling Springs, as depending on what your flavor is, what you think, how they match up. the top 3 teams in District 3 and AA. Mike Nauman, I saw them at Trinity last week. His 106 pounder is not with them anymore. He said he quit wrestling, and their 138 Gabe Bertoldi looks like he's not going to be with the team the rest of the way. So you have a couple, unforeseen developments there, but at the same time, it does, losing lineup depth will hurt them, especially against West Perry and Boiling Springs, where that's kind of their strength is their lineup depth. But at the same time, when you're going Jake Guilfoyle, Andrew Christie, Anthony Glessner, Lucas Lawler, Kay Werner, Bryce Enders, and Riley Robel, I don't know how much lineup depth really matters. And that's you talk about hammers. I don't think there's nobody who can match McDevitt's hammers. It's just a matter of whether they're 106 through their 138. They're going to compete. And I think Mike likes the way that their guys compete there.
Give me 6 guys or 7 guys who can pin and 6 guys who can bridge. You know what I mean? You can win every match, right?
Yeah.
And so that is, you bring up a good point, and it is going to be interesting to see how the team race turns out here with those 3. As far as everybody thinks, oh well, McDevitt's good, but they have holes. But guess what, man? I don't care. The pins. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're getting bonus at weights, like now it becomes a matchup thing, and they're going to be a tough out. But again, like if they're losing some guys here, now we're falling into that whole thing. Now we're falling under the idea of starters missing, and it's tough to win titles with guys out. And I don't know. I'm sure Michael will scrape something together here, but I still think they're going to be a tough out, man. I still think they're going to be a hard team to overcome those bonus. And I want to see really the double A match. I again, West Perry and Boiling Springs here at the end of the month. That'll give me a good idea where both those teams are headed going into the postseason. We have to wait a little bit for that. So.
In both directions, Boiling Springs, West Perry, Boiling Springs, McDevitt, West Perry. I mean, you have some really interesting duels coming up, whether it's regular season or postseason, or both, possibly in the case of Boiling Springs and West Perry. Real quick, I wanted to go rapid fire. Carlisle, Boiling Springs, they both won their dual tournaments. Both went 5-0. Not a big shock there. Good to see Central Dolphins bounce back and go 4-0 at CD duels. We did mention before, though, they're going to be on ice here for the next week or so, probably. Northern went 0-4 at CD duels, and that was surprising to me there. Chambersburg duels were canceled. State College was supposed to come down for that. I was really looking forward to State College battling with Chambersburg and some of these other teams. We didn't see that. We should see State College, Mifflin County, I hope, this week. Camp Hill, 54-24 over Trinity. Just Joe, and those guys losing that way to Camp Hill. I know it stung them. That just weren't really a match for McDevitt, and then kind of limped through the Manheim Township duels. They got a young group, outside their clearly established guys at 106 with Major Lewis and Tucker Painter at 89 and Jager Gray at 72. They've got guys who are still learning how to wrestle, and I think there's going to be some frustrating moments along the way that hopefully yield growth not so long from now.
Yeah, I saw that score too, and that surprised me. But Joe didn't have a good feeling going into that. I asked him what he thought, and he said, "Man, Camp Hill is they got some tough kids in there that are just going to be nightmare matchups for my guys." And so I could tell just tone wise he didn't feel good about that, that match either. But it's a process, man, and you gotta. It's tough. You can't speed this thing up. The wrestling thing is. It's an art, and it takes time.
It's the second time you called wrestling an art.
Come on, man. I know. You're like kind of picking on me here, but it is almost like a martial arts type thing. It's it takes time. You can't rush it. Again, these programs that are building and trying to do that, again, it's you got to hold on. You got to be patient.
No shortcuts. There's no fast tracking. If you're young and inexperienced to start the year, you got to learn those lessons somehow. And we've seen, some other teams going through that too. So we mentioned, I want to get your thorough breakdown on Carlisle-Red Land, but just a couple other highlights to note as we sit here. Mifflin County State College, Chambersburg going to Cumberland Valley on Thursday. New Oxford tournament, pretty good little field there. A lot of local flavor, a lot of York and Adams County flavors there, but some other teams coming in. Athens is coming in as one of them. Escape the Rock, we've seen both Powerade, Beast of the East, Escape the Rock. We don't have a very heavy local flavor in any of those big tournaments now. And I wonder maybe if the era of COVID, you don't really schedule going out of town all that much still this year. I'm just guessing there, but either way, just Chambersburg, Manheim Township going out there to Escape the Rock too, but not a lot of mid-pen vibes there.
Yeah, that's a tough tournament, man. And again, it's almost like a type of Powerade type deal. They bring some really good private schools in, and again, you got to weigh that cost. You're taking your team out there. How many of your guys are getting more than 2 matches? Yeah, it's great for your upper guys, but what's worth? It's a tough tournament. But Chambersburg again, Matt doesn't. He doesn't shy away from competition at all. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going either. So which always benefits his guys. So again, tough tournament. I guess. For the week here, I don't know. I think the Carlisle-Red Land, a big match. The other match that I like is, like you said, Mifflin County State College will give us a clear picture in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth. Chambersburg and Cumberland Valley. I feel like both of those teams are at spots where they're trying to figure things out right now. Both of them, in my opinion, are 2 of the top 10 teams in District 3. You know what I mean? Both of them have had ups and downs this season. Both of them are trying to find some sort of rhythm here, and they wrestle Thursday night at Cumberland Valley, and I think that's going to be interesting, and kind of maybe we'll decide where the winner kind of heads in the right direction, and the loser's going to have a tough regroup there. So that'll be an interesting one for me too.
I was just looking, by the way, Bishop McDevitt tonight beat Camp Hill 44-30. So I don't have exactly what the individual results were, but I think not a bad showing there for Camp Hill.
I was just going to say that to drop 30 on McDevitt, that's pretty impressive. Hopefully whatever happened there, McDevitt figures some things out if guys were out and guys are missing, but that's a good showing by Camp Hill.
Yeah. So I was trying to make sure we try to have that before we wrapped up. But give me, you mentioned a few toss-up matches in this Carlisle-Red Land match. Why don't we start with those? What are the defining points of this match?
All right, so here we go. Carlisle-Red Land. I have that match 5-5 with 3 toss-ups. Okay. The thing is, a lot of the places where Carlisle is favored, they're getting bonus. I feel like obviously Schmick up top. I feel like at 60 or 70, whatever happens in there between 52, 60, and 70 will decide that. But I see it between 60 and 70, the possibility of, one of those 2 getting bonus. The Wilson kid from Carlisle is wrestling well right now. And he's a big pinner. I have him getting bonus. The Walker kid. But then, you start looking at Red Land, well, they're going to get their share in through the middle there a little bit. And I think, the Phillips kid's going to get I think I have him circled as a favorite in the 215-pound match. But there's 3 toss-up matches that I have, all things considered. 120 pounds. Okay. The one Pedrick kid, there's 2 of them on the team against the Hutchinson kid from Red Land. And I have that kind of favored towards the Hutchinson kid. I felt like he had a couple more impressive wins than maybe Pedrick did. So I kind of pointed the arrow towards Red Land that way. At 32, I have the Petsinis kid versus the Beck kid from Red Land, but I have that one kind of favoring the side of Carlisle, okay, with Petsinis there. And the other toss-up I have is wherever the Stank kid from Red Land is located. Is he going to stay at 60 and go on D'Angelo? Is they going to go after the freshman at 70? I don't know. I think wherever Stank goes, in order for Red Land to win this dual meet, Stank has to win. You have a guy that's a district qualifier for Red Land, and he's going to have, wherever he is, he's going to have to get a big win there. So again, 5-5. I think the Palulak kid at 38, will win. Gibson at 45, I have in. So, again, 5-5, 3 toss-ups, 20, 32, and either 60 or 70, wherever the stank kid is. And we'll see where everything else falls. But I mean, again, this is my thing. A lot of times, like, your dual meets are not decided by your more experienced wrestlers. You know what I'm saying? Your guys that are your returning state medalists, so your Leighton Schmicks, your the Walker kid, Phillips for Redland, the Pulak kid. Those guys are going to get their points, right? But here's where things come down to, where you're going to have guys that sometimes aren't the most experienced wrestlers deciding dual meets, right? So I mean, again, that's what makes dual meet wrestling so unique, in the sense that you might not be an experienced wrestler, but you can go out and go 6 minutes, lose, and be the hero, right? So again, that match is going to come down to bonus points. Who can go 6 minutes, and I'll tell you, man, I think it's wide open. So I would favor Carlisle a little, but I just feel like they have a little more firepower. But I don't know. I mean, I thought the same thing against Northern and Redland. So what do I know? But
where do you factor a crowd in, an energized crowd, in terms of shifting momentum, being an advantage for Redland here?
Yeah, I went to watch the Redland Northern, like junior high, like that whole deal. I know some kids from Northern who I, work with over at the factory there in Dillsburg. But either way, Northern has a good, or Redland had a good atmosphere there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some fans in the stands, and so Carlisle's going to have to battle that. And I'm sure Carlisle will travel okay, but they're definitely going into a lopsided event as far as momentum for Redland and being in the home gym there for sure. They had a good atmosphere. I mean, they had elementary wrestling going on. They had the junior high match going on with 2 mats, and they had a nice little crowd there. I mean, it was good atmosphere. So, I think, definitely as far as like home and away, would definitely favor Redland in that situation.
There you go. We'll be back next week here on the PennLive Wrestling Podcast to recap then that spotlight duel. I'm going to be down there, so I'll see it with my own eyes too. If it's anything like this week, I think it's just going to be a celebration of Dave. Just the solid predictions on point. We'll see what happens, but and honestly, that's what we're aiming for here. If we can spend 30 to 40 minutes each week celebrating Dave Heckard, that's exactly what we're going to do. So hopefully these teams make you look good here, Dave.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
We'll be back. We'll be looking at all these duels we preview. We'll look back at the Escape the Rock tournament, New Oxford tournament. Hopefully we do see Chambersburg, Cumberland Valley, Mifflin County State College, some good matches to recap, including that Carlisle-Red Land affair. Stick with us the rest of the way here. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio as well. That's Dave Heckard. I'm Dustin Hawkinsmith, and we will catch you next time here on the PennLive Wrestling Podcast.